Hello and welcome to Applied R. In this video I'm going to be talking about how to deal with dates. So if we jump straight into our data, I've labeled our data DF in our global environment here in the top right. If I click on that, we have 4 columns and 4 rows. Now column 1 is the format that R will recognize as a date. Columns 2 to 4 will not be recognized as a date in R, and we can have a look at that. So when you import it, one of the first things you're going to want to do is check the structure. So if we use the str function to do that, within brackets you put your data frame, and if I just run that, I'll bring up our data, and you can see column 1 is in a date format, so that's great if you've imported it in that format. But if it's imported in any of the other formats, R will recognize it as a character, and potentially there are 2 problems with this. So firstly, you won't be able to do any calculation. So if you have 2 dates, you won't be able to calculate how many days there are between those 2 days. And the second problem is when you're doing graphs. So if you have the date, for example, on the x-axis, you're not going to be able to manipulate that in the graph if you don't have it in a date format. This video consists of 3 sections. In the first section, I'm going to talk about how to convert the date formats that are incorrect. So from column 2 to column 4, we're going to try and convert all of those into the same date format as column 1. In the second section, I'll talk about extracting specific parts of a date. So if we look at column 1, for example, you may want to extract the year, the month, or the day to create a new column. And in the last section, I'll talk about other date-related functions which I found useful. So if we go back into our script, we're going to try and convert column 2 now into the correct format. So if we have a look at column 2, that is in the day, month, and the year format. We need to change that to year, month, and day. We use the as.date function, and then within that there are 2 commands. So the first command is which column we're trying to change. So we put our data frame, the $, which indicates the column we're going to choose, and then we choose column 2. You then put a comma and then write the second argument. The second argument is the format argument, and this is the date format of the imported data, and you put that in either single or double quotation mark. So our date format is the day, the month, and the 4-digit year. If you look at our column 2 here, that's the day, the month, and the 4-digit year. And the symbols for these date formats are here. %D is the day format, so percentage lowercase m is the month format, and the percentage uppercase Y is the 4-digit year format. So once the conversion is done here in this part, I'm then assigning that to column 2 of our data frame here. So that's the data frame, the $, in column 2, and then this is the assign key here, which is less than and minus. And the shortcut for the assign key is Alt minus. So if I just run that line and we look at our data, and you can see column 2 is now in the same format as column 1. Let's move on to column 3. So column 3 is in the year, the 4-digit year, followed by the quarter format. So we don't know which day within that quarter it falls, so we're going to have to kind of assign that. To deal with column 3, we need to upload the zoo package. If you don't have the zoo package, you need to install it. So you go to your packages, install, type zoo here, make sure that install dependencies is checked, and then install it. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run this. Once you've installed it, you then need to upload it using this library function, and then write the package within the brackets. So if I just upload that by running it. So we're going to change column 3 into the same format as column 1 and 2. So we use the as.date function. Within that we put the as.year and quarter function, and the column that we're interested in. In our case it's column 3. So this is essentially the format of our date. We then put the comma, and then our second argument is the fraction argument. So this is the part where we're creating the day. So the fraction is from 0 to 1, so you can choose any value between those 2, and it indicates where within that quarter you want the day to be. So if you were to choose 0, it will be right at the beginning of that quarter. 1 would be right at the end. I'm choosing 0.5. It's going to give us the middle of that quarter. So if I just run that part, you can see here in our console on the bottom left, we have just created that date format. So if we look at our data frame and we look at column 3, so 2022 quarter 1, we have 2022 February 14th. Remember, we chose fraction 0.5 as our argument, so that's giving us the middle of the quarter. So for each quarter, we're going to get the middle of the quarter. And to assign that, what we've just converted to that column 3, we write our data frame, we indicate which column we want to assign it to, that's column 3, and then we put the assign command there. And if we run that, and we look in our data frame, so column 3 is now in the same format as column 1 and 2. Let's move on to column 4. Column 4, we have the abbreviated month followed by the year. So for that, again, we're using the zoo package. We write the as.date function. The first argument is that is the format of our date. So we use the as.year and month function to indicate that it's in a year and a month format. And then we highlight which column it's in. So in our case, it's in column 4. We then put a comma and then write our second argument, which is the fraction. So this time I've chosen 1. It's just going to give us the end of the month for that date. So if I just run that, and we look at our data frame, we can see column 4, the first row, January 2022. So we have 2022 January 31st, so that's the end of the month. Remember, we chose 1 for the fraction argument. And if we look at row 2, that's March 2022, and that is 2022 March, end of March. Okay, so if we wanted to assign all of this, the converted output into our column 4, we write our data frame, indicate which column we're assigning it to, and then using the assign key, we're going to assign that output. So if I just run that and look at our data frame, we can see column 4 is now in the same format as columns 1 to 3. So let's have a look at the structure of our data now. So we go back and run the str function. And look in our console here on the bottom left, you can see all of the columns are in the date format that are recognized. Let's now move on to section 2, which is about extracting particular parts of a date. So you might want to create a column with either the year, the month, or the day of a date column. Okay, let's look at quarters first. We use the quarters function, and within that we put the data frame, the $sign, and the column that we're interested in. So it's column 1. So if I just run that, and we look at our data frame, column 1. So what we're doing here is just extracting the quarters. So we look at row 1 of column 1, 2021, 1st of January, that's going to be quarter 1. We can see in our console here, that's quarter 1. We look at row 2, that's 2021, May the 5th, that's quarter 2. There we are, quarter 2. And so on. And if you wanted to create a new column, you put your data frame, the $sign, and then let's just put QRTS. So if I just run that and look at our data frame, we've now created a quarters column, and this has just extracted the quarters from the date in column 1. You might want to extract weekdays, so you use the weekday function. The first command is the column you're interested in, and then the comma, and the second argument is whether you want the weekday to be abbreviated or not. So if I just run that, we look at our column 1. So this is looking at column 1 only, and then we've just extracted the days from column 1. You might want to extract the months. That's the months function. and then the first argument is the column you're interested in, and then whether you want the months to be abbreviated or not. So if I just run that and we look at our data frame, column 1, we have January, May, March and October. Those are the month for the first 4 rows, and January, May, March and October, so that's our output. So you may want to create a column with the months. Another way of doing that is using the format function, and the first argument is the column you're interested in, and then the format of what you want to extract. So in our case it's %m, and remember you need to put this in either single or double quotation marks. So let's just remind ourselves the symbols for the date formats in R. So we're trying to extract the day as a number, for example. Then it'll be %d. If we want to extract the month as a number, it'll be %m, and so on. So we're going to extract the month as a number. So if I just run that, there we are. So same as above, we now have the months as a number, and you can create a new column. If you want to extract the year, again you can use the format function. The first argument is the column you're interested in, and then the format. In this case it's going to be %uppercase Y, again in either single or double quotation marks. So if I just run that, we look at our data frame. So column 1, we've now extracted the years, so 2021, 2021, 2022 and 2022, and there we go. So those are the years, and you may want to create a column with just that. Now you might want to extract the year and the quarter. So this is from the zoo package. You use the as.year and qtr function, and then within the brackets you put the column you're interested in. So if I just run that, and that's going to give us the year and the quarter for column 1. You can extract the year and the month. So as.year month function, and the column you're interested in. So if I run that, so that's going to give us the abbreviated month and then the 4-digit year. Right, let's move on to the third section, which is other related functions, which I found useful. So the first two uses the Lubridate package. If you haven't installed Lubridate, you go to your packages, install, you type in Lubridate here. Make sure that the install dependencies are checked, and then install. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to install it now. Once you've installed it, you then need to upload it using the library function, and then just type in the package. So if I run that, that's now uploaded. So the first function I'm going to show you is adding months to the dates that you have. So I'll give you an example. So you might have some investment happening in particular dates, but you have maybe 50% being paid out in your modeling during those dates, and the second tranche or second 50% will be paid 12 months down the line. So you may want to create a new column which is just going to be 12 months ahead of your original column. So what you do is you put your data frame, the $, and then your initial column. So in our case we're going to work with column 1 here. And then you put this weird sort of %m plus percentage sign to connect your months function. So then you put your months function and how many months ahead or back you want. So if you put a minus, it will be how many months back you want your new column to be, and then if you just delete the minus sign, it's just going to be how many months ahead. So here we're adding 12 months ahead now. So if I just run that and we look at our column 1, so for each row it's just adding 12 months to it. So for the first row it will be from 2021 1st of January, it's going to be 2022 1st of January. That's in our console here on the bottom left. Row 2 will be 2021 from 2021 5th of May, it's now going to be 2022 5th of May. So you might want to create a new column with this output here. So to do that, you just, similar to above, you put your data frame, the dollar sign, and then if I just put ahead 12 months, and then alt and then minus sign for your assign key. If I just get rid of the brackets, there we are. Okay, so if I just run that and we look at our data frame now, so we've added ahead 12 months column, so it's just, this is a 12 months ahead of column 1. You might want to add in years or subtract in years. Similar to above, you put your data frame and the column, and then percentage m plus percentage sign, and then the years function, and within that you put the number of years. If I just run that and look at our data frame, so the output here in our console in the bottom left is going to be 1 year ahead of column 1. Now you might want to create your own dates, so you can use the sequence function. So that's seq.date, and then there are three arguments to that. The first argument is the date you want to start from, so that's going to be as.date, so it's going to be a date, and then within the brackets you can you need to put your date. This is the date format that R uses, so you need to put the date in either single or double quotation marks. So I've put it in single here. So you put the year, dash the month, and then dash the day. And then the second argument is the to, so your end date. So similar to the first argument, you put your end date, and then what you want the increments to be. So in our case, it's going to be by weeks. You can put month or year for this by argument. Again, this needs to be in either single or double quotation marks. So if I just run that, there we go. So we have from our start date to the end, it's incremented by weeks. Now you can do months as well. So if you just put month there, and then if I run that, so it's now in months, and you can put year as well. And you might also want to be interested in the time between two dates, so the number of days between two dates. For that you use the diff time function, and there are three arguments. So you've got the two dates, and then the units that you want the output to be in. So the two dates that we're interested in is column 1 row 2 here, so that's the data frame $, column 1 row 2 in square brackets, and then the other date point is column 1 row 1. So if you look at our data frame, essentially we're interested in column 1 row, the number of days between row 1 and row 2 here. So if I just run that, and if we look at in our console at the bottom left here, the time difference between those two is 120. That's the end of the video. If you found this really useful, please hit that like button, and if you have any comments, I'd really appreciate those.